Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, it's the Wrestling Classic. Justin here, back for the TWC Show live on Rockies Avenue Radio every Monday at 1 p.m. Also available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and wherever else you listen to podcasts. Also, guys, if you haven't already, click the link in my bio. The Hulk Who shirts are there for a limited time with limited quantities. They are almost sold out. There's a few sizes left, a few sizes left. And also, I dropped a whole anniversary design for the 8 years of the Wrestling Classic. I really like the yellow design, but there's red, there's purple, there's blue. I'm going to add some more stuff up there today. We got crew necks, we got hoodies, we got t-shirts, we got mugs. Shout out to Vertical Bison for creating all that stuff. But if you haven't already, guys, make sure you go to TWCshop.com and get yourself some of the anniversary merch. Get yourself the Hulk Who shirt. Get yourself some of the throwback merch with the OG logo and stuff like that. That stuff's always on there all the time. Hoodies, crew necks, t-shirts. And if you are listening to the show, if you use the promo code TWC No Ship, you will pay no shipping no matter how much your purchase is. So only if you're listening to the show, I'm giving you that code TWC No Ship, and you will not pay for shipping, guys. Check out TWCshop.com. And I'm here, guys, with none other than the birthday boy himself, Mr. Dropkick Podcast, Danial Ali. What's going on, bro?
What's up? Thank you for the introduction. I really appreciate coming back on here. It's a little empty here today because no one's here on the show.
Just the two of us. We can make it if we tried.
But yeah, it's good to be back. I can't wait to talk some stuff on the show. A lot has happened this week, you know?
A lot. And right before we went live, I was like, I don't know what the hell to talk about because I don't even know what happened this week. And then you're like, this happened and that happened and this happened. And I was like, oh, yeah, it did.
A lot happened.
A lot happened this week. It's been it felt like a really long week, too. Because now when I talk about my name, that felt like a long time ago.
Mm-hmm. No, yeah.
And how fast my life has moved since Wednesday when MJF dropped my name on Dynamite. And I'm like, I'm going to Orlando. I'm going to my first ever AEW show. I'll be at Revolution. I got a ticket. I was given a press ticket. And now I'm like, okay, I'm coming to Revolution, guys. So, yeah, what a wild week. Shout out to MJF again. Shout out to everybody that got hyped with me and excited about that. To see how many of you, commented. I was like, dude, I've been following you forever. I was first put on to MJF because of this page. It's great to see you finally get your flowers. Holy smokes, I popped. I even had Zelina Vega. We had a conversation about one of my posts. You guys can take a wild guess which one it was, but she's like, yo, I don't need all this booty on my feed so early in the morning. I was sitting next to my grandma, and she busted me looking at this booty. I didn't want to mute your page because I appreciate your wrestling posts and stuff, but chill with the booty. And then we got on to talking, and she was just like, yo, that was really cool what MJF did for you. That I popped when I saw that, and she's like, if we had more free reign with our promos, you would get shouted out a lot more. And that made me think, so I'm like, I do know a lot of people in the WWE that I'm cool with. And I think a lot of them would have dropped my name or said the Wrestling Classic throughout the years or something. And it's really cool to think that. And if you listen to our conversation with Rob Aurelius, the most recent casual conversation, he even kind of talked about people know who you are, Justin. So it's been a weird week for me. It's been a weird week.
I'm happy for you, man. I went live immediately after all elite AEW Dynamite. Jesus Christ, stumbling upon my words here. But yeah, you came on the live. You went into detail about the whole MJF story. And for those who don't know, you've known MJF since 2014, 15, I believe. And you had him on your podcast actually in 2015, where you talked about and you interviewed him how he really looked up to CM Punk and he wanted to work with Dean Ambrose, and he really did that, and it's super cool to see that, man. And I'm really happy for what you've been able to do for him, because there's people like me and who want to get into the business, and it's really motivating to see that someone like him can make it. You know what I mean? So I think what you do is super cool, and I think at the end of the day, it pays off, because look at where he's at now.
And
he paid it back to you in the biggest way. I remember. Can I tell the people about what he said to you?
Yeah.
So so basically MJF texted Justin saying shout out incoming, and Justin showed me the screenshot, and I was like, what does that mean? Like for once I was like, he might just record himself saying like, oh, shout out to the Wrestling Classic. But then, come AEW Dynamite on Wednesday, it all made sense. That's what the shout out meant.
Yeah, I thought it was gonna be a cameo. I thought he was gonna share something in the story. I talked about sending him some more merch. He's like, yeah, definitely send me some more stuff. I did not think by any means that he was going to shout out the page on national television, but it made sense. And if we're gonna talk about it really briefly, like the promo made sense. Like CM Punk referencing the picture last week and talking about how it's just a regular fighter. To me, it was the biggest day in your life. I'm like, storyline wise, it made sense that MJF would come out here and cut kind of this baby face, sympathetic, empathetic promo about being a CM Punk fan, how CM Punk left him, and he got bullied in school and he had a learning disorder and he had ADD and they threw nickels at him when he was on the football team. Then he finally, went the same day that he got bullied and they threw nickels at him was the same day he went to go meet CM Punk, and that's when he realized he wanted to be a professional wrestler and he wanted to change the game. And then he goes, CM Punk walks out and he was devastated. So then he actually did go to college and pursue football. And the story is true. Like he's told the story on my show when I've interviewed him in the past multiple times. I shared those clips on my Instagram page if you guys just scroll down and take a look. And I shared the comments he's made on the page in the past too. And like, it is a true story. Like he's told me that since day one. I was in my dorm room, I was scrolling on Instagram. I was on your page specifically. And something about the stuff I was seeing, I was like, no, I want to be a professional wrestler. And he's like, I drove home and I told my parents, like, this is it. And here we are. So for him to like be a real one and not like changing the story or like not mentioning because I was sitting there, and you guys go listen to the Instant Dynamite recap that we did on Daniel's live stream right after Dynamite went off the air. Like, go listen to that because I go into way more detail about both of our love for CM Punk and how I felt and what went down. But I was sitting here and I'm like, there's a big chance he could potentially mention me here because I know I'm part of this story.
Yeah.
When he did, I was like, what? But yeah, and hey, Dynamite had over 1 million viewers this week. It was a good week for them to do it. It was a hell of a promo. It almost felt like a double turn. Like it almost felt like one of the greatest double turns in wrestling history was the Bret Hart Steve Austin one at WrestleMania 13. Like this kind of almost felt like that.
It felt like it.
Felt like CM Punk's now the bad guy and MJF's the good guy. And I think initially we want to be like, no, MJF, he's probably lying. He's making this up. But like that was the most authentic, in character MJF we've seen on television this entire year.
That was Jacob Friedman or whatever.
That was the act. That's Max Friedman.
That's Max Friedman. That was him. And I feel like back to the double turn thing. Like I feel like it makes me want to boo CM Punk now because like that was his hero. Like he walked out on him when he needed him the most, and then like MJF interrupts Punk for the first time, and then all he wants is like being acknowledged by his hero. But then what does Punk do? He turns him down every single time, and he kind of just makes fun of him. And it goes back to the whole thing where it's like never meet your heroes. It's like one of those things, and it also makes me think like, what's gonna happen after this? Because I think MJF is gonna win. I want him to win.
It's such a cool story too, with the idea of like, from the beginning where like MJF was talking this crap about how nobody can be, and then CM Punk came out. And MJF didn't say anything. He didn't want to. He was like actually like speechless when Punk came out. He tried to shake his hand, and then Punk didn't shake his hand. It's like from day one, Punk's low key been disrespecting this kid.
Yeah,
and he's tried to disrespect him back, but he's doing it from a place of like, you broke my heart. And Punk's doing it from a place of just being a dick. And now it's coming off that way. And now that's why when Punk came out, he's like, are you being serious? Is this for real? But like, MJF is so good at being MJF. Like, there was no way for Punk to realize that maybe, like, he did. This is a true story. And I did mess with this kid. And I did break his heart when I left in 2014.
And it's crazy because, like, if you really think about it, Punk is the reason why MJF is the way he is. That's why, like, that's the origin story, in my opinion.
I'm part of the origin story.
Exactly. And it makes...
He made the claim that I'm the reason that he decided to go home and become a wrestler.
I was sitting in my dorm room.
Because I posted a picture of CM Punk and Bryan Danielson. And the craziest part is that, like, there was a post, I don't know where it came from, there's a post where he, on his Instagram page, of that picture that I posted, and he reposted and wrote a speech about why he went back. And I'm like, oh, I didn't even know that. Like he remembered. Like I know the story, but I didn't remember the exact picture. Like that like detailed, and he gave it to the people. So that was crazy.
Yeah, he probably told you his name.
That was a good Dynamite from top to bottom, if you ask me. I think that was probably one of like I had to go back and watch the rest of Dynamite after the fact, like the next day, because obviously after that happened, I was like, I was jumping around, I was responding to DMs and emails, I was very thrown off. But it was a very good episode of Dynamite, man. Like it was very there was a lot. So listen, my thing about AEW, and I've said this for years and years and years and years and years, is and it's only been around for 3 years, so I probably won't even been saying it for 2 years. But is that there needs to be a good balance of promos and wrestling. I can't watch a show that's all wrestling. I know there's a fan base, there's a large sector of the modern day audience that loves just the in-ring wrestling, and there needs to be more wrestling. But I'm like, I need promos and wrestling, and then I'll have a very good show. I'm very entertained if there's a little bit of both. And we did get that. We had the promo with MJF. We had the battle royal that kicked off this show, and man, to see FTR in there with the Young Bucks and that huge pop happen, to see FTR back in there with Red Dragon, the Undisputed Era, the Revival back in the same ring again, to see the Revival in there to see the Red Dragon in there with the Young Bucks, Santana and Ortiz was in there. They had the moments with Santana and Trent from the Best Friends going back to their old feud. I was actually kind of shocked about how long John Silver was in the match, but then it made sense to me with everything that happened after, with Hangman coming out and John Silver being there to back up his boy. I was like, man, John Silver's been in here for a really long time. Obviously, like going into it, I'm like, I feel like the match at Revolution is gonna be Jungle Boy and Luchasaurus versus Red Dragon versus the Young Bucks in a triple threat tag match. But I obviously was rooting for FTR to an extent because I feel like they deserve more all the time, and I'm curious if they're gonna have a match at Revolution. I would really be interested to see FTR versus like the Briscoes at Revolution. Is Sammy having a match? I know Sammy wrestled Andrade on Rampage, but even him, I'm like, is he having a match at Revolution? I don't know.
Well, let's talk about. Sorry, what?
No, I will say I did say like this was for one of the first times in a while that it felt like Hangman was a champion again. The way he came out there, confronted Adam Cole at the end and stuff like that. I was with it. What do you want to talk about?
Let's talk about the main event of AEW Dynamite. What a technical match. What a great match. Daniel Garcia versus Bryan Danielson, finally. And the way that was built was really good because like they were just like, targeting each other's body parts into actually telling a story, not just like doing moves for the sake of it. But I think like the way they even did it was cool because after that 2.0 came out and then Moxley came out, like it was cool, man. I like it. It was fast paced, great action. Daniel Garcia is the man, one of the best right now in the business. I'll say it. And Bryan being Bryan, one of the greatest to ever do it. But yeah, I loved it.
Yeah, no, it was a great match, and it was one of those matches we've been looking forward to. I think in the first like press scrimmage that Bryan did after debuting at All Out, he's like, one of the guys I'd love to work with is Daniel Garcia, and I feel like for a lot of the guys that came in, especially Punk and Bryan, Garcia was one of those guys they looked at and they're like, I feel like I could have like a good, like a good chain wrestling, old school mat wrestling match with this guy, and that's what we saw with both those matches when Punk fought Garcia and when Bryan fought Garcia. That kid has a bright future without a doubt. I almost agree with Bryan Danielson when he says you're like this standout talent that has all this potential, but yet you're hanging out with 2.0. That listen, I like 2.0 to the extent that I think they're very cartoonish, they're very animated. When they're on TV and they're like doing the back, I'm like, I watch their like facial expressions and stuff, and I'm like, these guys are like entertaining. I can't say they're not entertaining, but like them with Daniel Garcia almost feels like they're holding back Daniel Garcia because anytime he's with them, he's less badass. But if he was by himself or with a Bryan as his mentor or something, I feel like he'd be more badass. Once again, it's no disrespect to 2.0. I think they have their place on the roster, and I think they're very entertaining, but I think they do take away the badassness of Daniel Garcia, and that match was a banger. Can we talk about the other thing that happened right after? I was like so shocked from the MJF shout out, and I still tried to be excited for it, but it was really hard for me to be excited for it because I was like still overcoming my feelings and emotions about what just happened. And honestly, to be a part of a generational promo, and that's what everyone keeps saying, a promo that people are like, even I'm not the biggest fan of the guy, but even Dave Meltzer was like, that's going to go down as one of the greatest promos of all time. And I'm like, yo, he mentioned me on it, so that's pretty cool. I'm almost part of MJF's pipe bomb.
Yeah, yeah.
But that being said, what happened right after was is Fal Kolishik, is that Jeff Hardy's graphic designer guy?
Falco? Yeah, that's Falco.
Oh, he tagged me in a post. Okay. Let's talk about that really quickly. No, let's go talk about what I was talking about. First things first, Buddy Matthews made his debut, joined the House of Black. Everybody in that match, from Penta and Pac, and I always say this about the Lucha Brothers. I'm just not the biggest fan of the Lucha Brothers tagging with each other, because then it's like they have no rules, and they might as well just call every match they're in Lucha rules, because they just go out of control when it comes to tag team wrestling. But I don't mind it when Pentagon tags with Pac, and I don't mind it when Phoenix tags with Pac, or like that, because then there's a little bit more of a structure, because Pac's not jumping around the same way the two brothers jump around when they're working with each other. They do some amazing stuff when they work together, but I'd rather them work as singles or with different tag partners, because then they tend to slow it down. That all being said, Pac, Pentagon, Malachi Black, Brody King, another tag team banger. This time around, though, Pac and Pentagon pick up the victory. For the listeners out there, please teach me, please make me understand. I didn't understand why Pentagon and his manager came out dressed like it was Halloween. And like this new, I know there's like a darker side of Pentagon or something that like people are aware of that I'm not aware of. Did I think it was cool? Yes. I'm just saying I don't understand why it happened, but I fucked with it. Mm-hmm. The match was good. Pac and Pentagon picked up the victory. Some 50-50 booking, because the last time around, obviously Malachi and Brody picked up the victory. And then the lights go out. And it was teased last week that there was going to be a third member of the House of Black, and Buddy Matthews made his appearance. And we know the history between Buddy Matthews and Aleister, or Malachi Black, or Buddy Murphy and Aleister Black, and their history in the WWE, and they worked at the Supercard and the Independents recently. And for him to now side with Malachi is super cool. It was a cool image seeing the three of them stand there together. Malachi was laughing at the fact that, like, he thought that, everyone's going to think that Buddy Matthews is going to help the other guys, but no, he didn't. Yeah. He joined the House of Black, and they're getting stronger, because the House, even though they lost the match, the House always wins. Don't forget that.
Yeah, no, I think it's dope. I think seeing Buddy Matthews in AEW is going to be something cool to see, and I definitely was a big fan of him in WWE, because he was the man. I remember when he won the Cruiserweight title against Cedric Alexander in Australia, the pop he received was tremendous. I think he's such a bright young star, and
my only gripe is that, and this is nothing that it's not. It's just an aesthetic thing. It has nothing to do with anything else.
Yeah.
But Brody and Malachi are so tatted up, and Buddy Matthews is so clean cut.
Oh yeah. No, I get that too. Yeah, he's like all like jacked, and like I always thought like he was bigger than like 205 Live, like weight wise. I was like, there's no way he's under 205.
No, I agree with you on that as well. The Jericho Eddie Kingston promo, you said you weren't a fan of it. I liked it. I did feel like when Jericho was talking, there was a point where at the beginning Eddie Kingston said, I don't do this sports entertainment stuff. Bring out Willow Nightingale and Chris Statlander, let them have a match. I'm not here to do this promo stuff. And he said that, and I'm not going to blame Jericho. I'm going to blame Eddie Kingston. But because he said that, it made everything Jericho did come off as like corny and sports entertainment then.
Not even that, but it's just like it felt like they were trying to read a script, like not a script. I don't know. It just wasn't connecting, man. It just wasn't hitting. And I get Jericho was the man. He still is the man. Don't get me wrong, but it's just like something's not hitting, and I just don't understand the consistent shots at WWE. Like, like you're gonna point beef.
He called Cody. What's his name?
No, he pointed facts at like Triple H being like, "Oh, give me the Jericho that hated Paul Levesque or something like that." And I'm just
that doesn't bother me, because it's like you have to reference what that's his history. What are you gonna reference? He also referenced the Jericho that was on Nitro killing it and stuff too. You have to reference his history.
Yeah, but it's just I don't know. I think it was sports entertaining. It was cool, but I just I don't know, man.
The promo came off a little weird because once again, Eddie Kingston came off as someone that didn't want to be doing an in-ring promo like that, and Jericho. It seemed like Jericho still forced out. No, we're gonna do this promo, and he was being very like promo-y, but after Eddie Kingston made it seem like, what are we doing this? Let's just fight. This is stupid. I felt like a lot of what Jericho's doing came off as very stupid then, because it's like this guy made this.
It kind of like dwindled.
This is stupid. Why are we doing this? And you said, no, wait here. Let me do my stupid promo still. And he tried to make it seem like, oh, you can't win the big one, and I'm in your head. And it's like, you're a loser. And I'm like, maybe like you're trying to play that, but nothing about Eddie Kingston makes it seem like he cares about that stuff.
Yeah, I don't know. It wasn't connecting, and it was just like, Jericho and Eddie Kingston are really good at what they do. But I think like this specifically, just I don't know, man. It was cool, man. But
another funny moment was Ricky Starks backstage at the Keith Lee promo, and he tried to do like the "Hello, I am Keith Lee," like he made fun of like the promo that he used to cut in the WWE, and they do have history, and it was cool to see them.
Greetings and salutations.
Yeah, greetings and salutations. I'm Keith Lee. I'm like, listen, I'm like, Ricky Starks is one of those guys. They talk about the 4 pillars of AEW, and they talk about Sammy and Jungle Boy and Darby and MJF, and now even Britt Baker sometimes. But I'm like, you guys are not giving Ricky Starks his flowers for how good Ricky Starks really is. Like, he's he got put in Team Taz, and they've been so weirdly off and on as a group, but like that man is good, and he's an entertainer, and I wish it got highlighted more. And maybe once again, I've been saying this since day one, I wish they took that FTW title more seriously, and he could be like defending it and stuff, because he's solid. Tay Conti is now challenging Jade Cargill for the TBS championship. Jade said nobody could beat her. She's at like 100 wins or something, and nobody's been able to beat her. I don't know, maybe it was 50, maybe I'm over-exaggerating. I don't remember. But Tay came out there. They did a little back and forth, and then, they did the face-to-face, and Jade kissed her on the forehead like Mike Tyson used to do to his opponents to get in their head, and that shit made me laugh. Because before they started fighting, she kissed her on the forehead, and that shit, I was just like, I had to watch this. I'm like, she just kiss her on the forehead? Like, there's no bigger form of disrespect than like treating someone like they're a little bitch. So... And last but not least with Dynamite, obviously Moxley came out after the Bryan match. We should have talked about that really quickly. And he's like, all right, you say I need to bleed with you before I can team with you? Well, let's wrestle a Revolution, but you're going to be the only one bleeding. And we're getting Dean Ambrose versus Daniel Bryan in an AEW ring.
It's fucking dope. I love Ambrose. I love Bryan. I don't know why I said Ambrose. Whatever.
I threw you off now.
Fuck you. But it's cool, man. I love both guys. I think it's gonna be a tremendous matchup. What a great pair of lads who are gonna tear it up in the AEW ring. But AEW is solid, man. Great episodes per usual. And Tony Khan said he has to make an announcement very short, so I'm really excited to see what that is.
Free agent. There's still a chance he might re-sign and get what he wants. Word on the street is that his previous contract was more than what they were offering to re-sign. But Cesaro, Claudio Castagnoli, is a free agent, and it's very intriguing to say the least. I'm still on the boat. Like, listen, Buddy Matthews just showed up and it was cool, but I'm still gonna stay on the scenarios like AEW can't sign everybody.
I think he's gonna sign back with WWE.
A lot of people that haven't signed with him, don't get me wrong, like Braun Strowman and Killer Cross and all these other people that are like either a part of Control Your Narrative, or they've gone to Impact, or they signed with MLW. So I'm not saying AEW is signing everybody, but like Cesaro is one of those people that if he was a free agent, you would assume they'd want to go after a Cesaro. Obviously has his beef with Eddie Kingston and stuff. That's over, him not wanting to put Eddie Kingston over before he left Chikara, some stuff like that. But there's a part of me that thinks he resigns. I don't think he'd want to leave WWE. I think he
resigns too.
I think he's just trying to get what he's trying to get more than what they offered. He's
trying to leverage himself.
Yeah, and then even if he doesn't get it, then he's not going to stay. But he wants, he wants more than what he was offered, and he wants it.
I think he was really like appreciated by his peers too backstage, So I don't think
I don't know why people think everyone hate working the WWE. I don't think people hate working there.
There's a false narrative to it. It's not like just because one person, a couple of bad people have bad experiences, doesn't mean it's a terrible place. That's their opinion. This is our opinion. This is my opinion. Like, it's different for everybody. And I think people need to understand that in this day and age. But everyone likes to point and blame fingers at WWE being like the bad company, which it isn't. You know what I mean? I think it's a great company to work for.
I mean, no company is perfect. No workplace is perfect.
Yeah, and I feel like
yes, WWE is more of a corporate structure, so it's probably more of a pain in the butt. And I've worked in corporate structure in the corporate world, but no company's perfect.
No company's perfect.
We've literally had people leave AEW and tell us stuff about AEW that's messed up there. Like
for sure.
Them and then and the fact that Cody left shows you that company's not perfect either, because you let someone leave who was the foundation of this company.
He was the EVP, I believe, right? Yeah.
EVP, who kind of was like someone that planted seeds for this all being a thing with All In and taking up Meltzer's challenge to sell out 10,000 people. Like, that company is definitely not perfect either. Do they have a better perception right now? For sure. But I'm not saying that AEW is bad or WWE is bad. I'm just saying no company is perfect. Yeah. And the idea that people hate AEW is the evil empire and everyone hates working there, but they just like getting paid and leave them. It's long overdue. Like we've talked about it many times. Some people just like making money.
That's the thing. That's the whole thing with Cesaro too. I mean, what if he doesn't want to go wrestle? I mean, people are gonna get older, man. They don't always want to wrestle how they once did when they were in their early 30s or whatever. You want to make as much as money possible and leave and retire. And
or up, down, the way. Xavier's the party. Adam Cole, Cesaro, and Tyler Breeze. And if Cesaro leaves, it's like that Will Smith picture. Fresh Prince when they're all by himself, where'd everybody go? Yeah, but I'm excited for Cesaro no matter what he does. I hope he there's a part of me, I'm going to be completely honest, and people, this might be the unpopular opinion. There's a part of me hoping he does resign with WWE. Because I don't want to see him anywhere else. I actually don't want to see him anywhere. I think AEW has so much talent right now. Even if he went there, he's just going to get lost in the shuffle. I mean, I don't get Rampage in Canada, so I never got to watch Sammy versus Andrade. But look at what they're doing with Andrade. I thought Andrade would be doing more. Now you have Keith Lee there. You have Malachi, Buddy Matthews, Pac, Pentagon, Sammy, MJF, Darby Red Dragon, Adam Cole, the Young Bucks, Kenny Omega, Hangman Page, CM Punk, Bryan Danielson. You know what I mean? Like, there's a lot of talent there. Like, and only so many top spots, and really only 2 titles.
Oh, for sure. And I feel like it puts the younger talent, like guys like Jungle Boy, Darby, Sammy, like all in this tight corner. It's like there's only so many bones to give out, and like, you know what I mean? But
no, I definitely know what you mean. The other thing is you're gonna meet Brett, eh?
Yeah, it's funny. Annabelle was like, "I got you something for your birthday," my girlfriend, and she's like, "I got you a Brett shirt." I'm like, "That's so fucking dope." But yeah, I'm meeting Brett. I'm excited. I actually, if I may, I wrote a list of people I wanted to interview for the longest time. And I'm not going to necessarily go out and say I'm interviewing Brett by any means as of now or anything. But meeting Brett was definitely one of those bucket list items I want to do since I was young, I guess. I gravitated towards Brett, like the pink colors, his matches, the entrances. I love entrances, as you know. But yeah, I'm excited, man. WrestleMania weekend's going to be wild.
What's your favorite Bret Hart match of all time?
My favorite.
Give me your top 3, and don't go look at my catalog on 1:37 p.m. where I wrote that article because we were trying to look for.
No, I already have. Okay.
And you started Googling some stuff, and you're like, "Oh, wait a minute! I forgot this is your article."
Yeah, I was like, "What a fucking plug!
What a coincidence! What a quinky dink!"
But top 3 favorite Bret Hart matches. Okay, Austin and Bret, WrestleMania 13 for sure. It was just a flat out brawl, and like 2 people kicking each other's asses who are badasses in their own way. And that last 2 minutes in the ring of Austin bleeding out, Bret just being like, "No, F you. I'm a friggin' just wrench this in and just have you lose." That was really good. My second one would be him versus Mr. Perfect at that SummerSlam, which was really good because that was Bret's first IC title. Or was it his first IC title win?
No, you're testing me. It might have been. It might have been his first.
It might have. Yeah, it's correct. It was a SummerSlam.
Wait, that was SummerSlam 91. Yeah, because he won it He lost it to the
Uh-huh.
Mountie. The Mountie lost it to Piper, and then he won it back from Piper at WrestleMania 8. So yes, that was his first one.
Correct. And the last one being
Classic, baby.
there we go. Also count on the Wrestling Classic. But the last one being him versus Owen Hart at that WrestleMania. And what a match. What a match to study for anyone that's trying to become a professional wrestler. There's a lot of spots that you see in that match are still done to this very day because there's a lot to pick out from Brett and Owen, two brothers. The story writes itself. Like, I think people still try to replicate that in a way, but it's so hard to do because, like, you can't replicate a Bret Hart fucking match. Like, you just can't. But yeah, that's my top three.
Speaking of interviews, for those of you that are listening to the Casual Conversation series, I appreciate all you guys that checked out the interview with Rob. But like I said last week, it was a cool interview. It was a very different approach. Involved with professional wrestling, but maybe not the same way as people before. Coming up this Tuesday, me and Sock Monkey Mike had the opportunity to interview Drew Gulak, WWE's Drew Gulak, which, guys, this is a really big deal because WWE let me interview someone from their company with approval. In the past, I've interviewed Sheamus and Jinder, but that was more of a they did it and they asked for forgiveness later, and they're like, don't worry, we're just going to do it, no biggie. Most of the time when I've had to reach out and ask for approval for an interview, and I've done it in the past for a lot of wrestlers that are like, yeah, I'm down, but you got to ask this person, you got to ask that person. They've said no. And they finally said, yeah, for Drew Gulak. And this was something where I was like, I know him and Mike been cool for years, and, he follows Mike. I'm like, Mike, why haven't you ever asked Drew Gulak for an interview? Like, you do these your stories. Like, you guys seem like homies. Like, ask him for an interview. And he's like, oh, no, it's so weird. I don't want to do it. I'm like, well, you ask him on my behalf, and I'll ask WWE. And if we can make it happen, we can make it happen. I want to ask on my behalf just more because, like, I now we have this track record of interviewing Brian and FTR and Malachi and Gary Vee and whatnot. There's more of a chance we can make it happen. And it worked. So, guys, this Tuesday, March 1st, interview with Drew Gulak dropping on my YouTube channel, wherever you listen to the TWC Show. Make sure you guys check it out. It was a cool little interview. We talked about WWE 2K22, 205 Live, Roman Reigns, Brock Lesnar, The Undertaker, and a whole bunch of stuff. So I hope you guys are looking forward to that. Another really cool thing happening is Vince McMahon's going to be on Pat McAfee's show this Thursday. Which is the first interview Vince has done, I think, in like 7 years, like a public interview since he was on Stone Cold's podcast in 2015 or something. So, and that's so crazy because I thought about that Stone Cold podcast. I'm like, I didn't realize it was so long ago. It was literally like in 2015.
That's when Ambrose was with the company. Punk was even wrestling. Like,
it was wild. It was the early days of the network.
I'm excited, man. Yeah. So.
No, go ahead, because you might bring up what I was about to bring up anyways.
Yeah, so, I mean, I'm excited to see what he's going to talk about, with today's talent and everything. What are you, Austin Theory? Kidding. But there are rumors that Pat McAfee might wrestle Vince McMahon, and I'm, for once, actually intrigued by the idea because I feel like Vince being Vince, he can do it, He's one tough SOB, and I don't see why not, but I mean, there's also another rumor where Austin Theory might fight or might wrestle Pat McAfee on the behalf of Vince McMahon, which is another great idea because we've seen.
I'm leaning more towards Austin Theory than
I'm leaning more towards that as well, but I mean, like,
because I think Vince is 74 years old, and Pat McAfee can have a good match with any wrestler. Like we saw him wrestle with Adam Cole, we saw him in the cage. I'm not saying Pat McAfee's like top tier best wrestler in professional wrestling or anything like that.
What do you mean he is?
I'm just saying Pat McAfee like he can have a good wrestling match if you put him in there with anybody. You can make it work. He's probably one of the best. A lot of people consider him one of the best celebrity appearances in professional wrestling. I'm like, I mean, I know now we have Bad Bunny, but Pat McAfee's up there as one of the best celebrity appearances. So I think him versus Vince, like, yeah, it'll be cool, but I don't want to see him beat up an old man. So why not Austin Theory? Here's another quick take. I don't know who listens to the Pat McAfee show or whatnot. And maybe I'm reading too much into it or being a little bit too optimistic. When Pat McAfee was talking about how Cody might come to WWE, and like, oh, Cody, like, I don't care. We already beat them in the ratings on Wednesdays like a couple of times. Like, it's not even that big of a deal.
But he was being sarcastic. I mean, I don't.
I know, but what if Vince makes Pat McAfee's opponent Cody Rhodes?
Fuck. You got me thinking, bro. Damn. Okay.
Pat's not stupid. I give Pat a lot of credit. I've talked to Pat. I'm like, yo, you're one of my favorite commentators. You actually have personality. Like, you're like Heenan on comment. Like he's a fan that really cares.
He's a fan
What
of
if he was
wrestling.
planting seeds for him versus Cody? And they can reference the fact that, like, no, I was on NXT wrestling Adam Cole while you guys are trying to launch your company, yada yada yada. Like, because realistically, if you remember during the early days of AEW, they were going head to head against Pat McAfee and his crew with Timothy Thatcher and
I remember 2019, right? Or
well,
2020?
yeah,
2020.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I feel like not a bad idea. Now that you bring that up, wow, I didn't even think of that one. Yeah, I'd be okay with that. I think Pat McAfee is a great wrestler, but Cody was great as well. I think they can make it work. And fuck, man, I can picture it now. But I feel like I'm really intrigued to see what Vince McMahon has to say about AEW if he's asked about that on the McAfee show. But we'll see, man. Thursday it drops, I believe, and
I'm intrigued to see if it builds towards anything because the WrestleMania card right now to me it looks okay.
it's
Like I'm not
alright.
against it.
It's
Like
alright.
it's pretty sweet, but at the same time, it's like I'm not upset that I'm not going to be there live yet. Ronda and Charlotte, that's fucking great. They're gonna have a banger. I've seen both them live before. I was there for the triple threat at WrestleMania 35. Like it's not like a must be there for Ronda and Charlotte for me. Brock and Roman. I was there for WrestleMania 34. Brock and Roman. It's a different vibe. I love this ponytail cowboy Brock. I love this tribal chief Roman Reigns. Like I love that the roles are reversed, but it still doesn't feel like I need to be there for this type of match. Bianca and Becky, great, but not a I need to be there type of match. Now it seems like either Seth and Owens are going to go into WrestleMania trying to be a tag team, maybe going after the tag titles. RK Bro doesn't seem to be splitting up right now. I mean, there was some tension in this match, so maybe they are. But then there's rumors of Owens and Austin. But I'm like, what if just Seth and KO have a match and Austin just comes out and stuns both them after? Like, that can still be a thing. So I don't want to see Stone Cold wrestle. The only thing that might make me regret not being there is if Stone Cold Steve Austin actually does come and wrestle. But I don't know if that's going to happen.
I really want it to happen, man. I just want something different.
I definitely listen. Stone Cold's gonna be there 110%.
It's gonna be there for sure.
The glass is gonna shatter. I'm happy for you because you've never seen that moment. I've seen Austin at WrestleMania 32. I've seen Austin at shows as a little kid. I've seen Austin's at random Monday Night Raws I went to in Seattle. So for me, it's like okay, like WrestleMania 32 was my favorite one because 100,000 people and like it was a surprise, but like I'll be sick for you, and like I'm gonna regret not being there for Austin no matter what the situation is. But there's nothing on this card where I'm like, I don't even like the fact that they're talking about unifying the titles.
Let's get to that. I
don't like the fact that they said they're gonna unify the titles. Like that bothers me. I'm like, I didn't like the fact that it's title versus title, and I know that Paul Heyman teased the fact that like, oh, like Brock, you're still gonna have to wrestle someone at Madison Square Garden. It's gonna be Bobby Lashley, but now we learned that Bobby Lashley is actually hurt and actually getting shoulder surgery, and actually probably won't be back for WrestleMania. So it won't be Bobby Lashley that Brock Lesnar is facing Madison Square Garden, but he will be facing somebody, and I don't think he's gonna lose the title to them. So if that's the case, I don't like this whole title versus title thing. I didn't like it in the first place. I think that took away from it. There's a reason why Kevin Owens and Seth Rollins and all these people feel like they have no direction because they have no title to fight over, and now they want to unify it.
Yeah, I feel like they're just throwing everybody in a tag team division right now, like with Sasha, Naomi, Owens, and Seth. They're just kind of like, all right, you get a tag team. Everybody gets a tag team. You know, it's just like, I don't know.
It's just, how do you feel about the unification of the titles?
First of all, I mean, obviously this is going to end the brand split, 1. 2, there are rumors of the big gold world title coming back, which I don't think is going to happen because Vince McMahon likes to see that big W on everywhere he goes. Because
if anything, I don't mean to cut you off, they're going to get rid of the Universal title and it's just going to be the big WWE title.
That's fine. I mean, listen, the Universal title I was never a big fan of until like Roman held it. He made it look really prestigious and everything, but like I think like it will definitely end the brand split, and that's gonna have like guys from Raw and the girls from Raw and SmackDown come, across. But I think overall, man, I just, it goes back to your thing, right? Because this is what their third match at WrestleMania, and there's only been two other rivalries that I got to do that. It was not Brett, Taker and Hunter, and also Rock and Austin. That's it, and not Brock and Roman. So these three rivalries are the only three to get to headline of WrestleMania.
Have a trilogy at
A
WrestleMania.
trilogy, yeah.
Yeah, and I'm not against Brock and Roman because now the rules are reversed. But like, it's just I've seen it. It's not the end of the world, and
I hope this is it, though. I hope this is the last match.
A lot of this makes me feel like I'd be okay watching this from home thus far. There's nothing that's changed, and I don't think Pat McAfee versus Austin Theory or Vince. I'm like, who's Edge facing?
AJ Styles. I feel like it's gonna be AJ.
Is it AJ? Is it Cody? He said some stuff about Phenomenal. He said some stuff about, and shout out to AJ Styles. He actually re-signed to the WWE too in this time period since last week's episode. But is it Cody? Is it AJ? Is it going to be someone like an Austin Theory? Because realistically, Edge was like, someone should step up. Someone that needs an opportunity to prove himself should step up. And I'm not going to lie, AJ Styles does not need to step up to Edge to prove himself.
No disrespect,
Cody
bro.
Rhodes does not need to step up to Edge to prove himself unless Cody Rhodes is trying to be like, I'm back. I want to wrestle you at WrestleMania. I want to make a moment. The only reason, and that's also the same reason why AJ should want to fight Edge, is because he wants to make a moment. He doesn't have to prove himself. I want to make a moment. If facing Edge at WrestleMania is the new facing Undertaker at WrestleMania, like that's your moment. Like you get to wrestle Edge at WrestleMania because that's what he's trying to deliver. Like I did this at WrestleMania, I did that at WrestleMania. Like wrestling me matters.
I'll make you famous.
I'll make you forever. Like, who's gonna step up to me? Like that's basically what Edge was saying. So don't get me wrong. Edge wants a WrestleMania moment. Yes, challenging Edge makes sense. Cody wants a WrestleMania moment coming back. Yes, challenging Edge makes sense. But then there's a part of me being like, it should be a younger talent than that wants to make a name for themselves.
It should be.
The way he delivered the promo.
Right, no, I agree. It should be like my brain tells me yes, but my heart's like no. I want AJ because like that fan in me wants to see that.
We all want to see AJ versus Edge. We wanted it since Edge returned, and they stood there face to face in the Royal Rumble. It's just the way he cut that promo that makes me feel like that might not be the case.
And if they're going that way, man, I think like Austin Theory's gonna beat Edge, and then at next year's WrestleMania in California, potentially they could do Edge versus AJ then, because then like I don't know, but yeah, there's a lot of ways about going about it. I think
Raw was actually pretty decent this week. I thought it was pretty cool to see Ciampa on Raw teaming up with Finn Balor, considering their beef on NXT. I don't like the way they play it. Like I'm the worst because I've said in the past I don't like it when they bring someone up from NXT and pretend that everybody knows who they are. But on the flip side, I also don't like when they bring someone up from NXT and they make it seem like they came from some whole different universe. Like we're living in the multiverse, and Ciampa came through, Doctor Strange's fucking portal and showed up in a new universe, and people don't know who the hell he is. Like it just doesn't make any sense. Like we know each other. Like we used to try to kick each other's ass like 6 months ago, but now we're gonna be a tag team. Like it was really weird. It was just weird. I don't think it's even that. I just think it's the way that they scripted their promo backstage. It was really weird. It felt very corny and cheesy. It felt like Chris Jericho on Dynamite.
I'm sorry, Jericho. I love you. I still want to interview you. I
don't think it's Jericho's fault. I think it was because Eddie Kingston pointed out the fact that they were doing something lame and cheesy, and then Jericho just went ahead and did it. And it's like, oh, now he already made it look like you're dumb.
It's kind of broke the fourth wall.
Yeah, it's Eddie Kingston's fault. It's not Jericho's fault.
No, I agree.
Yeah, it was a cool episode, and the main event was a banger. Seth and Owens versus Orton and Riddle. Like it was a really good match, and I love the finish of the buckle power bomb into the curb stomp into the stunner 1, 2, 3.
It was cool, man. Seth's the man. Great 4 wrestlers and everything. But let's go back a little bit. Balor's challenging Priest. I mean, tomorrow on Raw. So I mean,
or tomorrow on Raw. I hope Finn wins the belt because Priest does nothing for me.
Yeah, so that makes me think like. Okay, let's say hypothetically Balor wins it. Let's fantasy book a little bit. Balor wins the belt. My guess is they're going to do like a ladder match, like a 6-man ladder match for the U.S. belt, like how they do at like every WrestleMania for the mid-card belt. Like, how it's for the IC belt. They might do it for the U.S. belt. So, I mean, also, Sammy's champion. So that's freaking dope.
No, that's good on the other side, but is he wrestling Johnny Knoxville at WrestleMania?
I'm okay with that. quite friendly because like that's gonna get eyes on WrestleMania from like the jackasses.
You want to talk about getting eyes at WrestleMania? Logan Paul's back as Miz's mystery partner to wrestle the
And I don't even mind it one bit. I'll tell you that.
I don't mind it. Listen, I'm not gonna sit here and act like I'm a Paul brother like fan and shit. I respect their hustle. I respect what they've built. I think his podcast is actually really entertaining. I've listened to it a couple of times. The
Arnold Schwarzenegger.
What's it called again? It's I'm impulsive.
Impulsive. See, you remember. You're a fan, eh?
I know because I've listened to it. Like they like it's like it's the same way I feel about Joe Rogan's podcast. Like I don't listen to it on a weekly basis, but if they have a guest on there that I'm like intrigued by, I'll go give it a listen. And they've had a couple of they've had Matt Riddle on there and others, so like I've listened to it.
They had the Miz on. They had the Miz on.
Well, there you go. And I just think their crew's like a little. I do think their crew's a little. What's what I'm looking for? They're funny. They're entertaining. The three of them, George and him and whatnot. So, shout out to Logan Paul. If WWE is trying to target a younger audience like Daniel's generation out there, they grew up watching fucking LoganUl. So
I didn't grow up watching it. Okay, I didn't grow up watching.
No.
Listen.
The biggest Logan Paul fan. He grew up watching him. He idolized Logan Paul, and it's for him. It's not for me. I like Logan. I respect Logan. And I respect what he's built. So shout out to that. Daniel, tell us about your Logan Paul fandom.
Okay. I don't have a fandom. I think he's super dope. I think he's super smart. He came out on Raw, advertising his energy drink called Prime.
Oh wow! I didn't even know about that. You know a lot about Logan Paul, Daniel.
Well, it's a deal with KSI, another YouTuber.
Oh, YouTubers. Okay.
This guy's insane, but it's good. I'm happy for him. That's super smart on him. Like I think like if you want to make a name for yourself, you go to the WWE, and he grew up being a wrestling fan, so that's really cool as well. I think another thing was when he was on last year's WrestleMania, he took a stunner from Owens, and he did pretty good in my opinion. You know what I mean?
No, I'm just messing around. I think it's cool. It'll be great. What a lucky guy! You get to wrestle Rey Mysterio at WrestleMania.
That's cool, man. Him and Dominic. I'm happy for him. People thought that was gonna be Cody Rhodes.
No, they did. They did,
and they were mad. They're like, "Wow,
it could potentially be Cody." Like, I don't. The thing with Cody is we don't know how they are going to present him. Do they think of him as a top star? Do they think of him as someone that was Cody Rhodes that left as Stardust in the mid card? Let's be honest. Remember how they brought back John Morrison and we thought, oh, they might use Morrison great. And they brought him back as the Miz's friend, and all he did the entire time was be the Miz's friend. It could be the exact same thing.
Dead good, bro. Dead good.
That's why I'm like, I don't know. Nikita, let Tim take you to Ruby Tuesdays. But no, like
I think her and Tim are compatible, bro. I don't know, man.
I don't know, man. But really quickly, lastly to wrap things up, like I said, WWE's been good. We saw it was a solid match between Ziggler and Ciampa on NXT 2.0, so I'm gonna give them a shout.
I'm glad you brought that up because I'm really happy the way they've been booking Dolph Ziggler as of late, because everybody knows I'm a big Dolph Ziggler fan. I think he's been really underlooked for the last couple of years, and I'm really glad he went to NXT to help these guys out. And I'm saying like guys as if Ciampa's any younger, but they're kind of the same age, and it's funny.
And everything I've watched on 2.0 the last couple of weeks, I caught up in the last 2 weeks of their show, and I watched St. Valentine's Day Massacre or whatever it's called, or Vengeance Day, my bad. And it was good. The NXT 2.0 has been good. They got characters there. They got people I care about.
Even the women's tag division is so fucking
they're doing the Dusty Cup tag team tournament.
Cora Jade and Raquel versus the Toxic Attraction girls. Like, that's super dope. I love Manu's character. I think, in my opinion, I think she's the greatest NXT Women's Champion. I'll say it right now on your show. People can come at me, but I truly believe that. I think Toxic Attraction is really good. But
no, they are. I think they've brought a different vibe to NXT. I think, and I know like some people want them to lose the titles, but I'm gonna say this and I'm gonna stand with this. I think them losing the belts, they won't hit the same if they're not holding.
They won't. They need that gold, man.
It's gonna die down at that point, and maybe that's what people want. They want Toxic Attraction gone, but that's just my take on that. It works with the belts, and once the belts are gone, like they can separate and move on. Ronda is back. Ronda's in wrestle Sonya. Something's not clicking for me. And if you want to talk about something not clicking for me, why the boss, the blueprint, the standard, the conversation.
I was waiting for that. I was like, when can we talk about this?
legit boss Sasha Banks is back again. And yes, I say that with a little bit of sarcasm because she's been back again a lot for the past year.
She's got more
She's left
returns
to
than
come back
anyone,
and
bro.
she was been returning more than the Undertaker from 2000, like when he was coming with the streak. Like she's always coming back. I'm glad she's back. I'm happy she's here. I don't know how I feel about it being like her in a tag team with Naomi and them going after the tag belts. Like Sasha's 0-5 at WrestleMania. Her and Naomi winning the tag belts at
Damn,
WrestleMania.
she got a losing streak?
Yeah, so her and Naomi
crap.
beating Carmella and Zelina for the women's tag titles at WrestleMania, being Sasha's first W at WrestleMania, does not hit the same for me as if she was to beat Charlotte at WrestleMania this year.
I'm that good, bro. I just don't understand. Like, here's the thing, man. Like, Sasha Banks recently put out a tweet, or like she posted something on Instagram story where like there was a baby crying, and then someone gave the baby like a rack of money, just gave it to her, and she stopped crying.
I saw that, and that was her implying
And
that she
that
doesn't
was
care.
her like thing, being like, "Oh, look, Vince McMahon is giving me so much money from leaving to go to Hollywood," and that's my like whole take on it. It's like,
Or just like I was upset too, but I'm getting paid, so I'm not going to be upset.
yeah, and it's like
and I get her. That's very good of her being very what's the word I'm looking for? Like having an optimistic perspective of the situation, because rumors before this was, oh, there's going to be a 4 horsewomen fatal 4-way they thought about, or it was going to be Charlotte and Sasha. That's what the seeds were planning before they knew Ronda was coming back. They're like, oh, Charlotte and Sasha. Like that was something they were actually planning. Plans changed when Ronda came back and she made the decision to come back. And honestly, and I get it because Ronda's a huge name. I really would have even fucked if Sasha got added to the Ronda and Charlotte match and it was a triple threat. Like I still would have been down with that. A lot can change how WrestleMania is a whole month still. Don't get me wrong, but it just feels like. Don't get me. There's also I've also been one of those people that have complained that there hasn't really been any tag teams for Zelina and Carmella to work against, and that sucks because they're the tag champions. I was like, why don't we see? I'm like, what are the tag? There's no tag teams for them to work against. So maybe like they're like, oh, why don't we make Naomi and Sasha a team, and we'll have like a team bad reunion, and they can win the tag belts. And I get it, but it's just like I'm gonna say this. And I don't know if this sounds disrespectful. I feel like Sasha Banks is bigger than this, and that sucks. And that's no disrespect to Naomi. Obviously, Carmella's my girl. I love you. Check out Carmella and Corey's show on YouTube, airing this Monday, tomorrow, on WWE's YouTube channel, new series. You guys make sure you guys check it out. Corey and Leah, Matt and Leah are dope. If you listen to their podcast, Bear With Us podcast, you can tell they have great personalities. They're always about a good time. And I'm sure this show is going to be great too. So make sure you guys check that out. But no disrespect to Carmella, no disrespect to Naomi, no disrespect to Zelina, who's my homie. Obviously, I'm a big Zelina Vega fan too. Love her too. But like, I feel like Sasha Banks should be doing something a little bit more important. And that even being said, I don't even like seeing them together. But like, if this was Sasha and Bayley, maybe I'd be like, okay, that makes a little bit more sense. Let Sasha and Bayley have this moment at WrestleMania. I know Sasha and Naomi are friends too, but it's just, I don't know. It just, even with the whole Naomi thing, you just had this whole long feud with Sonya Deville, and now you just, it's weird to me.
Not even that, bro. But
maybe it'll grow on me though. Maybe it'll grow on me.
Yeah, but I still go by the fact that I think that like it should have been Sasha versus Charlotte at this year's WrestleMania, in the main event in Dallas in the AT&T Stadium, where she failed to capture the women's title in 2016, and this would have been perfect. It would have made sense. And like, I just don't know why we're not going that route. But like you said, I'm gonna wait until see things unfold, and hopefully, you know, things may get better on the road to WrestleMania. I don't know.
I don't know, man. I'm conflicted how I feel about this. You guys know I'm a big Sasha Banks fan. I wanted the best for her this year at WrestleMania. This isn't the worst thing, but like Sasha Banks has had some very unmemorable WrestleMania moments, like being in the Battle Royal at WrestleMania 34. WrestleMania 36 was it the pandemic one when they were in the Performance Center and she was kind of in that 5-way match that Bayley won, and she
she was there. I didn't even remember that.
WrestleMania 35 was fine. Like they defended the tag belts, but they lost it. Like Yeah, she was in the WrestleMania 32 Triple Threat. Even WrestleMania 33 when she was in the Fatal 4 with Bayley, Nia, and Charlotte. Like, there's just been a lot of like mass Sasha moments. Don't get me wrong. There was a Triple Threat at 32. There was the Bianca match, which is going to go down in history as one of the most relevant matches in wrestling history, having two black women main event WrestleMania for the Women's Championship. But like, there's been a lot of blah Sasha Banks WrestleManias. And I was hoping this one would be like Mage. I was hoping shout to Rosenberg. I was hoping it would have been like Sasha versus Lita, Sasha versus Trish, Sasha in the match with Ronda and Charlotte. Maybe Bayley comes back and we get Sasha and Bayley on the big stage. I would have even been fine with them not doing that. This doesn't feel like it's it. Will it be a happy moment? Sure. But is it it?
Nah.
I don't know if it's it. You know?
I want to see Nikita versus Sasha Banks, bro.
But then on the flip side, I'm happy Zelina and Carmella may potentially Nikita be on the WrestleMania card for sure then, and they're gonna get their time to be on the show and stuff, but it's just I don't know.
Yeah, no.
It's gonna be like wholesome, heartwarming moment, but it's not gonna be anything like I don't know.
Yeah. Like mind blowing. Like, yeah, I know what you mean.
The tag titles do need to be relevant. They do need tag teams though, because they fired half of them. But put Alexa and Liv together. Put Sasha and Naomi together. It could be like one of those where it's like Sasha and Naomi versus Alexa and Liv versus
like a big match
versus another tag team. Have 4 tag teams like they did at WrestleMania 35 again, go at each other. Like not the end of the world.
Like a big match?
Make a big match. Like the Big Show. Oh, it's a big bad show tonight. Big Show. But
that's a Big Show, man. I remember we had this conversation last night. Like he's really up there. People don't talk much about
him. He's done it all. One of the ECW, WCW, WWE. Give him the AEW World Title. Let Big Show beat Hangman. Add to his resume. No, Big Show's wrestled anybody. Hogan never wrestled Dean Ambrose and stuff. Cena never wrestled Hogan and Savage and Sting. Austin never wrestled Hogan. Big Show wrestled them all. He wrestled them all. He's wrestled everybody. He even wrestled QT fucking Marshall.
When did that happen? All Out, right?
Yeah, icon. Biggest icon in wrestling.
Really is. Like all respect to Big Show, man. Love him.
Yeah, that's it. Anything else you want to add, Daniel?
Not much, man.
To you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Daniel. Happy birthday to you. You're no longer a punk ass teenager.
Shit, man. I'm 20 now. I feel old.
I appreciate you, man. I appreciate all the things you've helped me with. Since the page went down from 2020 forward, you've been a helping hand to the Wrestling Classic. I regularly say most of the stuff I do all by myself, and I have, but along the way, I've got a lot of helping hands, and you've been one of the major ones in the past couple of years. So I do appreciate you, whether it's writing the transcripts, which if you are writing transcripts for people, they should be paying you more. Whether it's writing the transcripts, helping me come up with merch, doing the interviews with me, getting the interviews, coming on the TWC show, like. You are appreciated, and I hope you have a wonderful birthday. Thanks, and guys, if you guys are in WrestleMania, Daniel will be down at WrestleMania weekend in Dallas.
Hit me up.
I don't know if I'm going to be there yet, but now Daniel will be there. I will be in Orlando for Revolution this upcoming Sunday, though. So if you guys see me, come say hello. I do not bite and keep doing the thing. We'll see you all next time. Ooh, yeah. Dig it. Uh-huh.